Before we begin, I ask everyone to take out their electronic device and make sure that it is on silent so we do not hear it during our ceremony this evening. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I now ask that we please rise and remain standing as we are able for the presentation of our colors by the Air Force Junior ROTC Unit, Virginia, 821, and the singing of the Star Spangled Banner.
Color guard, stand, hut, carry, colors, forward, arch, left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left.
Thank you. Please be seated. Just a small sampling of the talent we have here at George Mason High School. Pretty impressive so far, right? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this auspicious occasion in the lives of our George Mason High School seniors. We extend an especially warm welcome to the friends and families of the seniors. We know many of you have traveled great distances to be with us this evening, and we think you're going to find it was worth the trip. I am joined on stage by George Mason valedictory scholars, Tara Hallman, Sarah Campbell, and Elizabeth Cashin. We are greatly honored by the presence and participation of Mr. Michael Farber. Mr. Farber is a well-established senior journalist for Sports Illustrated. I wish to welcome you most especially, Mr. Farber. Also joining us on stage are Senior Class President Zach Witzel, Senior Class Vice President Chris Hammond, Senior Class Secretary Casey Sheehy, Senior Class Treasurer Tyler Marple, Superintendent Dr. Jones, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, Innovation, and Personnel, Ms. Lisa High, School Board Chair, Mr. Justin Castillo, Falls Church City Mayor, Mayor David Tarter, Senior Class Advisors, Mr. William Snyder and Mr. Eric Healy, who is also our Dean of Students, Director of Special Education and Student Services, Ms. Elizabeth Germer, Assistant Principal, Mr. Matthew Hills, Assistant Principal, Mr. Kevin Clark, Band Director, Ms. Mary Jo West, and the George Mason High School Wind Ensemble. And to my left, up there in the rafters, we have the George Mason High School Chamber Singers directed by Ms. Amanda Hull. I now invite Class Vice President Chris Hammond to come forward and welcome you on behalf of his fellow seniors.
Hello, my name is Chris Hammond, and as the Vice President, I would like to welcome family, friends, teachers, administration, and of course my fellow classmates to the commencement ceremony of George Mason High School for the class of 2015. On behalf of our class, I would like to thank our parents for your love and support, our teachers for your guidance, and our friends for being there throughout our high school year. Also, a large thank you to our class sponsors, Mr. Healy and Mr. Snyder. Last but not least, I would like to congratulate and thank all of you, the class of 2015, for being one of the most distinguished and diverse classes Mason has ever seen. It is now my sincere pleasure to introduce the school board chair, Mr. Justin Castillo, who will bring greetings from the school board.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. On behalf of the school board, I'd like to congratulate the class of 2015. I'd also like to recognize the many people who have provided your class with love and support over the years, including friends, guardians, and family, along with everyone at Falls Church City Public Schools. Last week, I went to Radford to watch the state championship games in men and women's soccer. As you know, both teams ended up winning. Not only that, they both closed out undefeated seasons, which is a remarkable feat. I had a strange feeling going into those games. Oddly, I was more concerned about them not losing than I was about them winning. And that led me to start thinking about perfection, success, and failure. My thoughts went back to a memorable season of my own. My 7th grade football team in Denver, where I grew up, had a perfect season. We were perfectly defeated. We did not win a single game. We would have gone even farther and been winless and scoreless for the season, except for Walter Sajansky, who miraculously returned one of many kickoffs we had to field for a touchdown for our only score of the season. We lost to one team by a score of 72-0. There was no mercy rule at that time. The game was almost over, and we were in the huddle. Our quarterback, Matthew Weatherly White, was crying. He kept saying, "You guys have to block." And I was one of the responsible parties on the line. And my friend Andy glanced over, and he said, "Well, I guess we're not going to pull this one out." And he was right. So this time of year, many graduates hear about the importance to learn from failure. And if so, that long season in 7th grade was a very tough education. But if there's a place for failure, I think it's also important to put perfection in perspective. Perfection sounds great, but approach it the wrong way and it becomes corrosive. I remember hearing after the University of Kentucky lost the game to Wisconsin in the NCAA basketball tournament, one of the players said the entire season, which thus far had been perfect, was wasted. And I think that reflects the dark side of perfection, which is summed up in one of my favorite sayings, and that is, the perfect is the enemy of the good. Perfect is great, but it makes it hard sometimes to get anything done. Chase perfection, and it can become a burden that can make you conservative, perhaps when you should be bold. Not every culture puts perfection on a pedestal in the same way that sometimes we do. A few years after my disastrous 7th grade football season, I went on a school trip to learn about Native Americans in Arizona and New Mexico. And we encountered many examples of beautifully woven Navajo blankets along the way. One of my teachers pointed out that the Navajo weavers always incorporate a small flaw into every blanket they make. And they do that because they believe that making something perfect would compete with nature's perfection and stunt their creativity. So the bottom line, don't confuse perfection with excellence. You won't start out perfect at your next job or in college, and you won't be flawless if you start playing the guitar, write your first lines of code, or paint your first picture. But don't stop that. Don't let that stop you from asking for help along the way and from working to attain mastery over time. And finally, don't chase perfect moments. Instead, welcome them when they come. And I think of Walter's kickoff return as one of those examples. And enjoy them while they last. And then get back to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo. The George Mason Scholar Award recognizes the outstanding academic achievement of our graduating seniors. This award is presented to students who have completed a high school program which includes a minimum of 25 credits, a cumulative grade point average of 3.85, and the following courses taken for letter grades: 4 years of social studies, 4 years of college preparatory mathematics, 3 years of one foreign language or 2 years of 2 different foreign languages, 3 years of laboratory science, and international baccalaureate courses in 2 disciplines. This year, there are 63 students receiving this award. They are wearing silver medallions this evening to signify their outstanding academic achievement. In the fall, these students will be attending the following post-secondary institutions: American University, Arizona State University, Belmont University, Boston University, Brigham Young University, Bryn Mawr College, California Polytech Institute and State University, Calvin College, Catholic University of America, Christopher Newport University, College of the Holy Cross, College of William and Mary, Cornell University, Dartmouth College, Davidson College, DePaul University, Eastern Mennonite University, Elon University, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, Florida State University, George Mason University, Gettysburg College, Grinnell College, Harvey Mudd College, Indiana University, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, James Madison University, Johns Hopkins University, Kent State University, Lehigh University, Longwood University, Lynchburg College, McDaniel College, Miami University of Ohio, Michigan State University, Minerva Schools, Malloy College, Montana State University, Mount St. Mary's University, New York University, North Carolina State University, Northeastern University, Ohio University, Oklahoma State University, Penn State University Park, Purdue University, Rensselaer Polytech Institute, Robert Morris University, Rochester Institute of Technology, Savannah College of Art and Design, Shenandoah University, South Dakota of Mines and Technology, Stony Brook University, United States Naval Academy, University of Alabama, University of Arizona, University of California, Santa Barbara, University of California, Santa Cruz, University of California, Davis, University of Denver, University of Mary Washington, University of Miami, University of North Carolina, Greensboro, University of Pittsburgh, University of South Carolina, University of Valley Forge, University of Virginia, Utah State University, Virginia Commonwealth University, Virginia Polytech Institute and State University, Virginia Tech, and Yale University. Wow. The recipients of the George Mason Scholar Award will be recognized when they receive their diplomas. Finally, we recognize 41 students tonight who have earned the distinction of being named George Mason Valedictory Scholars by maintaining a cumulative grade point average of 4.0 or better throughout their high school years. They are wearing gold medallions this evening to signify their outstanding academic achievement. These recipients will also be recognized when they receive their diplomas. And on behalf of FCCPS, I want to say congratulations to the class of 2015, and we really look forward to watching you go out in the world and making a difference in your very own unique and special way. Congratulations.
It started out as a feeling, which then grew into a hope, which then turned into a quiet thought, which then turned into a quiet word. And then that word grew louder and louder, till it was a battle cry. I'll come back when you call me. No need to say goodbye.
Just because everything's changing doesn't mean it's never been this way before. All you can do is try to know who your friends are as you head off to the war.
Pick a star on the dark horizon and follow the light. You'll come back when it's over. No need to say goodbye. You'll come back when it's over. No need to say goodbye. Now we're back to the beginning. It's just a feeling that no one knows yet. But just because they can't feel it too, doesn't mean that you have to forget. Let your memories grow stronger and stronger till they're before your eyes. You'll come back when they call you. No need to say goodbye.
the members of the school board, our superintendent, our principals, our teachers, our counselors, our families, our friends, and to the class of 2015, we made it. For days I contemplated, I thought, and I questioned, what does the class of 2015 need? When do we move forward? When do we look back? I read the other day some words written by the great Ralph Waldo Emerson. The words on the page answered my questions and so many more. In the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson, what lies before us and what lies behind us are but small matters compared to what lies within us. After I read those words, I stopped, paused, and read a little further, startled at the words that followed. It read, "And when we bring what is within us out into the world, miracles do happen." I read those lines over and over and over, and after I considered the truth of that statement, miracles do happen. I reflected on those last lines on this past year, and I thought, indeed, miracles do happen. I thought about the remarkable class of 2015 and our uncanny ability to enact each of our own miracles. I thought about students with enduring passions to travel, ceaseless stories of ventures to China, Vietnam, Senegal, and other locations. I thought about students such as Megan Bassnight, Zach Witzel, Rachel Horowitz, James Paula, and so many others who have fought, challenged, and succeeded in seizing their own miracles. I thought about students' lifelong commitment to athleticism, their rigorous regimens, never-ending nights, and their decision to play sports on the collegiate level. I thought about students such as Ava Roth, Evan Davis, Jared Britton, Chris Metter, and so many others who sacrificed in hopes of changing their childhood dreams to present miracles. I thought about students with a hunger for knowledge, with academic curiosity, scholastic aspirations, students such as Arjit Singh Sharma, Mary Keenan, Jonathan Gilmore, Felipe Borja, and so many others who have made their dreams realities. I thought about students with creative aspirations, artistic expressions, students such as Hannah Kemp, Henry Bagato, Monica Benya, Angelica Johns, Gabe Brown, and others who pushed boundaries, urged new thoughts, and dared to dream miracles. And I thought about my peers who dreamed to join family legacies at various institutions, students like my dear friend, Jen Schmidt, who received the life-changing acceptance to the University of Virginia class of 2019, where she will join her family's long-standing generational legacy. I thought about all of these miracles and the countless others who likewise enacted their own dreams, their own goals, and their own miracles. So as my thoughts turned into memory, and my memory turned into words, now firmly imprinted on my mind, I knew what I had to say. I knew what we all needed to hear. To the class of 2015, remember the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson. Remember, what lies in the past and what lies in the future are small, incomparable matters to the passion, the fire that is within all of us. Remember that we must no longer look to our mistakes. Remember that we must no longer look to our fears. Remember that we must no longer doubt our aptitude, our will, and our strength. We must remember we can and we will withstand any opposition that comes our way. Because, class of 2015, we are all miracles. We have made miracles, we have lived miracles, and we know miracles do and miracles will happen. Congratulations, keep making miracles. Thank you.
Fellow classmates, teachers, relatives, and honored guests. Recently, I visited Williamsburg with the 5th grade students from Thomas Jefferson Elementary School. We learned about a man named Alexander Hoy that joined the regiment reinforcing General Washington. In 1776, he signed up for duty by placing an X on the enlistment form. It was during this time that the saying, "Make your mark," came into use. Men that could not read or write were told to place an X on a line, changing the document into a legally binding contract. Although Alexander Hoy died from battle wounds, with a simple X, this man made his mark on history by helping to establish the greatest union that has ever been. As time went by, the saying, "Make your mark," evolved from an ink X to an act that could change the world. We, the graduating class of 2015, now enter the world determined to make our mark. Although making one's mark is often equated with achieving fame and fortune, it is often the smallest acts that truly change the world. In 1871, 10-year-old Phoebe Ann Moses was sent to work at a poorhouse following the death of her father. After 2 years of being overworked, she ran away. She came to a railroad station and tried to buy a ticket home, but was turned away because she did not have nearly enough money. A passenger noticed her distress and bought a ticket for her. Phoebe never forgot that kindness. The act of the unknown passenger would have an unseen effect on thousands of people in the future. When she grew up, Phoebe became one of the most wealthy and renowned women in the world. She changed her name to Annie Oakley, sharpest shot in the West. Rather than living lavishly, she gave thousands of dollars to veterans' hospitals and charities. She taught free classes to over 15,000 women and anonymously paid for the education of 19 orphaned and destitute girls. At the end of her life, she melted down each one of her gold medals, sold them, and donated the money to the treatment of tuberculosis. Let us, the class of 2015, make our mark on the world by being kind. There's a Latin phrase that says, "Barba non facit philosophum," which means, "A beard does not make you a philosopher." Our future degrees and educational achievements won't make us smart unless we've learned compassion, patience, generosity, integrity, and honesty. Let us, the class of 2015, make our mark on the world by being smart. There's an old proverb that states, "Blessed are those that can give without remembering and receive without forgetting." Throughout high school, I participated in an early morning church class every day that went from 6 to 7. Often, instead of going home afterwards, I would go to school to work on my assignments. Despite the early hour, the cafeteria where I studied would never be empty. A member of the custodial staff would always be there, having arrived long before me, prepping the room for the students to come. At George Mason, we've been blessed by the great influence of school staff members that strive diligently to ensure that we receive a great education. The labor of many in our lives is often unsung and unseen, but their efforts have created a world of opportunity for us. We need to remember that although the work of some goes unobserved, it must never go unappreciated. Let us, the class of 2015, make our mark on the world by being grateful. On February 1st, 1945, a helicopter flown by a U.S. Army pilot crashed and started on fire on Wake Island. The pilot was knocked unconscious in the crash. Young Paul Ross Hunt left his ranks and ran to the helicopter. Jumping into the craft that was now engulfed in flames, Paul frantically tried to unbuckle the seatbelt. Just as the belt became unbuckled, the helicopter exploded. Paul was rushed to the hospital where he died 2 weeks later on his birthday from third-degree burns. Paul Ross is my great uncle, and he is heroically and gratefully remembered in our family for his selfless and courageous loyalty to his country and fellow servicemen. Let us, the class of 2015, make our mark on the world by being true. My fellow classmates, I encourage you to continue to have an impact for good on those around you. Class of 2015, take advantage of the opportunity to have a positive effect on others as you embark on your journey ahead. Congratulations and good luck as you start the next chapter of your lives.
At this time, I recognize 4 of my colleagues who are serving as faculty marshals. They led our distinguished faculty into the hall this evening. We honor Miss Nancy Goldman, who is retiring from our counseling department after 32.5 years of service. Miss Chin Ma, who is retiring from our world language department after 11 years. Miss Marcia Schumann from our counseling department, who is retiring after 18 years. And Miss Maria Shields, who is retiring from our visual and performing arts department after 23 years. That's 84 years of collective service to this community. Let's please give them a round of applause. They're standing on that side. Thank you. And if I might go off script as well, I think upstairs I see Miss Loza, who is our manager of our cafeteria, and she is also retiring. Miss Loza, I apologize, I don't know how many years, but thank you so much. I also recognize Miss Judy Knoke, Ms. Maureen Smith, and Mr. Peter Laub as nominees for the 2015 Washington Post Agnes Meyer Outstanding Teacher Award. We salute them on this honor, and I ask them to please stand to be recognized for their service to our students. I now invite Class Treasurer Tyler Marple to come forward for the presentation of the class gift.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Byrd, the class of 2015, would like to provide the George Mason High School community with a token of our appreciation for all that it has done for us. Ever since our class arrived in 8th grade, we have loved the school-wide gatherings, allowing us to bond as a class. The one fault with these events is the inconsistent speaker system. In order to enhance the experience for Mustangs for years to come, our class gift to George Mason High School will be a brand new speaker system. There have been many problems with the speaker system in recent memory, such as at the fire drill picnic and at the Rebound Week pep rally. But with the new speakers, we hope to limit these problems in the future. Thank you.
The first day of 8th grade, I walked through the front doors of George Mason High School and thought, wow, High School Musical did not prepare me for this. I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be exactly like High School Musical, but I mean, a girl can dream, right? For those of you who don't know, High School Musical is a singing and dancing-filled forbidden love story between Troy Bolton, the captain of the East High Wildcats basketball team, and Gabriela Montez, the new girl to the school who is the standout on the Scholastic Decathlon team. Later, both audition for the school musical, despite their differing cliques, which launches the school into an existential crisis as people start to realize they aren't confined to the cliques they were placed into. Spoiler alert, Troy and Gabriella are finally able to be together at the end, and in true Disney Channel fashion, everyone sings a closing number about the lessons they have learned and the togetherness they feel. Long story short, when I walked into George Mason that first day, I was in over my head, and as I dodged the terrifying seniors and weaved my way through a loud, chatty, and oblivious group of girls, I knew there would be no choreographed musical number that could express how I was feeling. Fast forward 5 years, and as you can see, I made it out alive thanks to the help of my fellow students and Mason teachers and faculty. However, along the way, I did learn that maybe Mason wasn't so different from High School Musical after all. I mean, minus the whole everyone breaking into song every 15 minutes thing. Despite the noticeable differences between High School Musical and George Mason High School, I found that both the East High and George Mason students were able to learn the same lessons. In both High School Musical and at George Mason, students learned to do things that scared them, learned how to focus and use time wisely, learned that no one is exactly the same, and learned that the basketball team always seems to think they're a big deal. If Troy and Gabriella hadn't taken the risk to try out for the school musical at the last possible minute, High School Musical wouldn't exist and the world as we know it would crumble. At Mason, risk-taking was something always encouraged through the dreaded IB learner profile, which seemed to elicit a chorus of groans throughout the school when teachers pointed them out at the beginning of classes each year. At George Mason, I witnessed my peers taking risks every day, from finally building up enough courage to share their talent and participate in the JV show, or attempting to plan an entire English essay during A-lunch for the next block. Another lesson the Wildcats and Mustangs learned was how to juggle all our activities in only 24 hours. In High School Musical, Troy often left someone disappointed when he couldn't make it to both basketball and musical practice at the same time. Here at George Mason, as an IB diploma candidate, I can tell you firsthand that I too have found myself overbooked like Troy. As a result, I would often try to do too many things at once, which has been psychologically proven to be impossible. Just ask Mrs. Sensharma. As the poster child for procrastination, there have been many times in which I have gone to my mother at around 11:30 p.m. bawling my eyes out because there was no possible way after getting home from my various activities at 8 p.m. that I could study for both a chemistry and calculus test for the next day. As a result, I made the monumental discovery that maybe it's a better idea if I don't start studying for both tests the day before, but rather study a few days in advance. If you're able to get your head in the game, like Troy and I did, and focus on each task one by one, things become a lot easier to deal with. One of the most striking similarities between the lessons learned during High School Musical and George Mason High School is the fact that no one is confined to a box labeled with one particular aspect of themselves. In High School Musical, the characters learned that sometimes nerds don't enjoy doing homework and that skaters can play the cello. Similarly, no one at George Mason is just a jock or a nerd. They're a basketball player who likes to act and sing in musicals, a band nerd who's president of the school, or a swimmer with a passion for trombone. I know it's cheesy, but it's the truth. And if there's one thing I've taken away from my time at Mason, it's that people are more than the activities they participate in. And just like the song, they're different in a good way. Here at George Mason, I like to think we're accepting of each other's differences and that we don't stick to the status quo, like in the beginning of High School Musical, because we've known each other for so long and seen how much we've all grown and changed throughout the years. Although this might be the end of all our high school careers, as we go our separate ways and start our lives all over the world, we're all starting fresh again, which in a way makes us, like the song, all in this together. Through both High School Musical and George Mason High School, we've learned many important lessons that will stay with us for the rest of our lives. We've learned how to take risks, how to use our time wisely, and learned how to embrace each other's differences and not confine people to one aspect of themselves. At the end of every installment of High School Musical, there was always a closing number about togetherness, friendship, and starting anew. Maybe in the next few minutes, we can throw something together, making sure to jump in unison and strike our best High School Musical pose at the end, just for old time's sake. Thank you.
The commencement speaker for tonight's ceremony is none other than Sarah Miller's cousin. For those of you who aren't familiar with Mr. Farber, a short list of his many other notable accomplishments can be found on the back of the program. Mr. Farber is a high-level journalist for Sports Illustrated, and he has been inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Presently, he is living in Montreal, Canada with his wife, Danielle. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce you to the distinguished Mr. Michael Farber.
Now, I know the parents and grandparents out here are not struck by this remarkable group of young people because they see them every day. I don't, and I'm absolutely floored. Now, I know it's your day, everybody in red, but you wouldn't be here without your parents and grandparents. So, before I start, I'd like parents and grandparents to stand, and I'd like the students to applaud them. Please. So Principal Byrd and Dr. Jones and Mr. Castillo, faculty, parents, grandparents, friends of the graduates, and of course, you red-clad class of 2015. I'm honored to be here today, although in truth, I'd actually would have been more honored to be here in early April, because you had cherry blossoms. Where I live, there were snowdrifts. In my city, there are 10 months of winter and 2 months of bad skiing. You know, I live in Montreal, and as many of you know, your baseball team, the Washington Nationals, began life in Montreal as the Expos. So let me put this in other words. You stole our team, and we have neither forgotten nor forgiven. So think of this little speech as Montreal's revenge. I'm about to steal 10 minutes of your life, which, like our baseball team, is something you'll never get back either. Now, I presume I have been invited to talk to you today, you George Mason graduates, on this proud, proud day, because you realize that in 4 years, many of you will be looking for a job. And for more than 4 decades, I have had the best job in the world. I have been a sports writer. And how good is that, really? Come on. I have had the best seat in the House, traveled the globe on someone else's dime, and witnessed history, well, at least history in the toys and games department of the great department store that we call the world. I hate math, sorry, but I did a little math for this occasion and realized that between my time in newspapers and at Sports Illustrated, I've covered 5 Super Bowls, 31 Stanley Cup Finals, 12 World Series, at least a dozen major boxing matches, including 2 of Muhammad Ali's, by the way, 1 Sports Illustrated swimsuit shoot, which is pretty amazing because in Montreal, they want you to go cover something for the parka edition of Sports Illustrated. And yes, 18 Olympics, 10 in winter and 8 in summer. My first Olympics were in 1980 in Lake Placid, the village in upstate New York. It was almost comically unsuited to hold those games. Your parents, who were roughly your age at the time, around your age now, probably remember those Olympics because of the miracle on ice, the victory by a team of American college players over a powerhouse from the Soviet Union, a hockey game framed by global tensions that had been heightened by the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. I was in the arena watching the clock count down. I was gobsmacked, I really was. But more than a hockey miracle, I remember a holy mess, which was the chaos of those 2 weeks, especially the transportation system. Every night at 7 o'clock, the Lake Placid Olympic Organizing Committee would have a press conference in the high school auditorium. That was serving as the press center. And they were there basically to apologize. This was journalism kabuki theater, a ritual that was not to be missed. One night, an elderly Italian journalist stood up and excused his poor English, or so he said, and he asked this question: I understand a person cannot be in two places at once, but here in Lake Placid, you have made it impossible to be in one place at once. Well, after the press conference, I made my way over to this fellow and to congratulate him on his preamble, not a question. And he said, bah, this is the second most disorganized event I've ever covered. Now, I was going to bite, right? So I said, so what was the first? He said, World War II. So on a day when you graduates turn a page in your lives, when you're going to be focused on the future, I, like that Italian journalist, want to linger for a few moments on our collective pasts. I was born a few years after the end of that war, but what went on in World War II helped shape my world and worldview, just as the Great Depression of the 30s helped shape your grandparents' world. And just as the First World War, then known as the Great War, molded the universe for their parents. In your case, I imagine the events of September 11th, 2001, when you were in your tickle me Elmo stage, have left an indelible impression on you. When my two children were growing up, I would mention an event like, say, the 30 Years' War, which was something I've always found fascinating, and I would get the and the eye roll. You guys are probably pretty good at that, right? Attitudes with which I suspect you are familiar. And then came the rejoinder, dripping with attitude. Well, how can I know that? I wasn't even born. So then I'd play my trump card. Well, you've heard about the moon landing, right? And they'd say, well, yeah. And I said, well, you weren't around then either. Just because something happened before you were born doesn't mean it didn't happen. So even in our glorious age of Google, when you don't have to remember anything more than your passwords, I urge you, class of 2015, to dig a little deeper, to figure out where we are and how we got here. By the way, there's no extra credit for saying, well, I'm in DC and I got here by Toyota Corolla, okay? No extra credit for that at all. Anyway, my point is, and I do have a point, magazine writers tend to take a long time getting to the point. My point is this: essentially you have been, and you will continue to be, responsible for your own education. Your parents, your fine teachers, and the education system can facilitate your learning, of course, but ultimately you must be the ones to do the heavy lifting. Now, whether you do this in college or whether you have chosen another path, it will be up to you, class of 2015, to spackle over the holes in your knowledge, to seek wisdom, to learn what truly matters. So, how do I get that education you're thinking right now, right? Well, here are 2 pro tips, as we cool sports writers call them. Pro tip number 1, ask good questions and listen to the answers. In the course of your professional lives, you will find people who will be delighted to share knowledge and experience with somebody who is eager to learn. So find a mentor, whether that's a psychology professor or a really good auto mechanic. Pro tip number 2, trust yourself. You understand your passions better than anyone. Notice I said passions, not interests, passions. Be passionate. Take a chance. Be bold. By that I mean don't always order the Cali chicken at Mike's Deli. Try something else on the menu. I cite my daughter here, who at 14 decided she was going to be fluent in Russian by age 25. Her desire to master Russian, I can assure you, had nothing to do with her maternal great-grandparents having been born there, and everything to do with Alexander Ovechkin, one of your Washington Capitals, who, for reasons that still escape me, she finds cute. I don't get it. Anyway, my trilingual daughter was fluent by 24. With what amounted essentially to a cold call, she landed a job at the Moscow Times, an English-language newspaper in Russia. And in the coming weeks, she's moving to the Moscow bureau of Agence France Presse, a news service, writing in English. She's 26 now. Well, my son, the 28-year-old, the one who most often said, "Well, how should I know that? I wasn't even born." Well, he's now a college history professor. And right there, folks, we have the very definition of irony. He also became a father today for the second time, so thank you. I suspect the people you saluted before we started, your parents, your grandparents, are not as smart as parents in my age weren't as smart as they were 50 years ago. Kids of my generation were constantly being asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" You been asked that question? Probably not as often as I was. We were badgered by that. But I want you to think about this. If tonight, when you're celebrating your accomplishments here, after you've taken off your red robes, when you're with your family, if some well-meaning friend or relative asks, "What are you going to be when you grow up?" Try one of these answers. Happy, creative, daring, a person who makes a difference. Now, I knew from the age of 18 what I wanted to do. I wanted to write, I wanted to tell stories, I wanted to see the world. And I was fortunate enough to have done it. Now it's your turn to figure out what makes you happy, what your passions are, and how you can make a difference. So have a wonderful day. But tomorrow, trust me, the fun really starts. Thank you all.
It is now my distinct pleasure to invite my colleagues, Mr. Hill, Mr. Clark, Assistant Principals, Mr. Healy, Senior Class Advisor and Dean of Students, and Mr. Snyder, Senior Class Advisor, to join me in presenting diplomas to the class of 2015.
Zachary Todd Witzel, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB diploma. Casey Hannah Sheehy. Tyler Bennett Marple. Christopher Elias Hammond. Elizabeth Jane Cashin, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB diploma, National Honor Society. Sarah Elizabeth Campbell, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, National Honor Society. Tara Holman, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, National Honor Society. Paul Louis Abracciamento. George Dylan Aknadeposian. Michaela Isabella Albright, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, National Honor Society. Zoe Elizabeth Allen Lewis. Viviana Mariela Ampuero, IB diploma. Michael Robert Anderson. Nicholas Edward Armour. Jacob Andrew Armstrong. Catherine Rebecca Atkinson, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB diploma, National Honor Society. Henry Joseph Bagato, National Honor Society. Megan Grace Basnight. Caitlin Batten, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB diploma. Henderson James Beam. Monica Marie Benya. Felipe Alexander Borja, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB diploma, National Honor Society. Samuel Burns Bridge. Jared Isaiah Britton. Ashley Renee Brooks, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Bobby Raisin Broom. Gabriel Ashton Brown. Eduardo Berdicio Gutierrez. Daniel John Butler, National Honor Society. Nicholas Edward Casillas. Mariana Castaneda Guzman, George Mason Scholar. Catherine Nadine Lewis Cheney, Valedictory Scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Jae Hyun Cho. Austin Myers Clark. Brent Jonathan Clark, Valedictory Scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma. Benjamin Oshoka Cohen, Valedictory Scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Caitlin Reed Collins. Madison Lee Cooper. Victoria Bezig Corlett, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma. Catherine Elizabeth Kreigler, Valedictory Scholar, George Mason Scholar. Michaela Claire Colhane, National Honor Society. Mateo Koji D'Agostino, Valedictory Scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Orion Shirish Date, Valedictory Scholar, George Mason Scholar. Evan Alexander Davis. Sagar Soni Dayal. George Roland Demars, Valedictory Scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Joseph Alexander Dupre. Alicia Hannah Devereaux, Valedictory Scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Justin Kester DeVeccia. Daniel James Donovan. Kevin David Dreslin. Xavier Adam Xander Ellis. Andre Inake. Julio Fernando Espina. Sophia Marie Ferrara. Valedictory Scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Charles Cochran Field. Clay Michael Furley. Kerry Jean Gannon. Jessica Noel Jamond. Nicholas Carl George. Jonathan Ashworth Gilmore. Valedictory Scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Catherine Ann Goodwin. George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Emma Catherine Gregg. Valedictory Scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Thomas Grant. Julian Paul Grippo. George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Ralph Joshua Gross Galliano. Sierra Brienne Hackler. Ada Caldwell Hensel. George Mason Scholar, National Honor Society. Davis McCrae Wall Hagi. Bamlak Gaitihun Halimariam. National Honor Society. Noah McConnell Hain. George Mason Scholar. Maxwell Michelle Morris Hendricks, National Honor Society. Anna Elizabeth Hennessy, IB Diploma. John Vince Haizan Rapuya. Olivia Hoppy. Roderick Hobson. Rachel Leah Horowitz. Victoria Leah Hyde. Kieran Louise Ide. Carolyn Nicole Gerard, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma. Heywan Zhang, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Angelica Lee Johns, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Meredith Grace Johnson, presenting her diploma, George Mason faculty member and stepfather Eric J. Healy, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, National Honor Society. Molly Josephine Johnson. Jackson Ellis Melquist Jost. Mary Morgan Keenan, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Cameron Chase Kelly. Hannah Marie Kemp, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, National Honor Society. Emily Jordan Klein.
Caitlin Grace Kuchma. Abigail Sarah Langen, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Eleanor Vaughn Langford, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. David Juen Larson, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma. Jonathan Sanu Lee. Veronica Ray Lehman, George Mason Scholar. Evelyn Grace Leggett. William Harris Leopold. Isabella Tallulah Lewis. Michael Kayabia Lin, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma. Natalie Maria Maher. Alexandra Jane Mahler, IB Diploma. Olivia Yvonne Martin Spizak, IB Diploma. Kennedy Leanne Mooney, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Sophie Elena McGinnis, George Mason Scholar. Teresa Louise McMahon. Christopher Edward Metter. James Preston Meeks. Courtney Nicole Merriman. Sarah Bowman Miller, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, National Honor Society. Presenting her diploma is the keynote speaker and her cousin, Michael Farber. Daniel Connor Nettie, National Honor Society. Tony T. Nguyen. Amara Alexis Rice. Kayvon Fardad Narozi, National Honor Society. Jeremiah Diakili Ogle. James Joseph Ortiz. Nabil Zhang Osborne, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Anthony James Paula, National Honor Society. Julia Grace Palmer, IB Diploma. Paul James Patterson. Patrick Warner Pareto, IB Diploma. Megan Catherine Pierce, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. William Brent Powell. Edward Spencer Quill III. George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Gabriel Albert Nickdow Quimpo. Sabrina Irene Yibedu Reibling, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar. Ian Daughtry Rush. Anna Charlotte Rice, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, National Honor Society. Connor Richard Robinson. Kelly Elizabeth Rodock. Vrida Marie Cabernet Rolyamas. Ava Catherine Roth, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Thomas George Rund, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, National Honor Society. Madeline Anna Sanders. Claire Ellen Schmidt, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, National Honor Society. Genevieve Kelly Schmidt, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Nicole Caitlin Schrock. Samuel James Selby. Arjit Sen Sharma, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Presenting his diploma is George Mason faculty member and mother, Dr. Nisha Sen Sharma. Alexandra Noel Smith, George Mason Scholar. Eugenia Viana Smith. McKinley Karen Smoke, George Mason Scholar. Matthew Declan Snitzer, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma. William Nicholas Graham Stubbs, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar. James Jarman Taylor, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Gabriel Ray Terry. Leslie Catherine Thomas, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma. Dimitri Tislin, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma. Heather Lynn Torres. Lauren Christine Torres. Claire Marie Torkin, valedictory scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Justin Stewart Valentino, George Mason Scholar, National Honor Society. Matthew Joseph Valley. Wilbur Andres Velarde, IB Diploma. George Francis Viggory. Emma Whitaker Escobar. Sarah Elizabeth Whitlock, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma. Anna Rose McHugh Wilson. Michael Forrest Winters, Jr., IB Diploma, National Honor Society. Danielle Nicole Weissmiller, George Mason Scholar, National Honor Society. Marcus Giovanni Zach, George Mason Scholar. Kalila Layla Zachrison, Valedictory Scholar, George Mason Scholar. Nicholas Charles Zavala. Yifan Zhang. Ariana Aylin Zogi, Valedictory Scholar, George Mason Scholar, IB Diploma. Haley Elizabeth Zulo.
On behalf of the faculty of George Mason High School, the Office of the Superintendent, and the school board, and with the power vested in me by the Department of Education of the Commonwealth of Virginia, I hereby confer upon these diplomas in recognition of your fulfillment of the requirements for high school graduation. Mr. Farber, Mr. Castillo, Dr. Jones, Ms. High, Mayor Tarter, Ms. Germer, faculty of George Mason, parents, relatives, and guests, I present to you the George Mason High School graduated class of 2015. Congratulations. Is that you, Ryder? Congratulations, kids. I'm not I'll thank you for this, Roderick, but I'm not worthy of this. I wouldn't have been able to graduate from George Mason. But thank you so much. Congratulations to these kids. Before we conclude our ceremony this evening, please join me in saying thanks again to our amazing faculty. Each of them could have used their talents and skills at some other school or in some other way, but fortunately they have chosen to be here with us, and for that we are truly grateful. Their tireless efforts to inspire, challenge, and support our most precious gifts are appreciated. Please give them a round of applause. Also, a very special thank you to the members of our support team for the work that they do behind, in front of, and alongside the scenes to make sure that Mason runs like a well-oiled machine. Please join me in saying thanks to Ms. Monahan, Ms. Clinton, Ms. Bird, Ms. Baldo, Ms. Chazy, my angel, Ms. Flanagan, and a special thanks and congratulations to Ms. Kemp and Ms. Nettie, each of whom are respected members of the faculty and are celebrating the graduation of Hannah and Daniel, respectively. Please give them a round of applause. I also offer our collective thanks to our colleagues at Jesse Thackeray Pre-K, Mount Daniel Elementary, Thomas Jefferson Elementary, Mary Ellen Henderson Middle School. We recognize that without you and your stewardship of these exceptional young people, this day would not be possible. So a round of applause for our colleagues at the other schools. Miss Markham. Lastly, please join me in saying hello and get well soon to Ms. Kurjanowicz, our Director of Counseling, and my personal savant, who could not be with us today. She's recovering from a surgery, but is watching at home. So we miss you. Get home, get healthy soon so you can come back to us. Kevin, Matt, and Brad are useless without you, so we need you back in our office. So please hurry back. Congratulations. Well, get healthy. So on to the graduating class of 2015. Congratulations to you. Today we gather to celebrate your successful completion of this significant portion of your life journey. Each of you represents hope for a better future, not only for Falls Church City, but for the global community. I genuinely believe that a member of the graduating class of 2015 could find a cure for cancer, solve the riddle of social injustice, facilitate a true and lasting peace among the world's nations, or maybe, just maybe, coach the Dallas Cowboys to another Super Bowl victory. It could happen. It could happen. Your options are nearly infinite. Unfortunately, opportunities are not. By successfully accomplishing this important objective, you have earned the privilege of competing for leadership positions that could resonate across the globe. You've worked diligently for the past 12 years to get to this point. Now, what are you going to do with it? I humbly submit that your individual and collective ability to earn and retain positions of leadership rely on two important factors: presence and effort. It is far too easy to suggest that intelligence alone guarantees success and that any perceived or real limitations preclude its attainment. Winston Churchill said, "Continuous effort, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking potential." I implore you to perpetually show up and give it your all. Many of you have learned how to succeed with humility, fail with grace, and meet each with reflective resolve to do better at the next opportunity. I challenge you to commit to the grind, divine success for yourself, and get up each day willing to fight for it. Refuse to be denied. Be on time. Scratch that. Be early and stay late. Let your willingness to work hard serve as testament to your commitment to that endeavor and to your character. Earn opportunities to compete, and when given a chance to lead, take charge. Know that you will make mistakes and expect to fall flat on your face. Fear not the fall, because falls are to be expected by those who attempt great things. Look forward with the prospect of gathering yourself and fighting back, especially when the odds are not in your favor. You will collect scars. Let those scars serve as artifacts of your determination and will. I promise that you will celebrate those scars in your early 40s as you recount your life's struggles to those who are just beginning that portion of their journey. I leave you with the words of famed Olympian and great American Jesse Owens, who said, "We all have dreams, but in order to make dreams come into reality, it takes an awful lot of determination, dedication, self-discipline, and effort." Congratulations to each and every one of you, and always, always remember that you are a Mustang for life. Offer no excuses and excel in mind, body, and character. I now ask that your class president, Zach Witzel, come forward to bring this ceremony to a close.
Just before I start, when Mr. Byrd was listing the names of educators who won the Washington Post Awards, he missed one. Him himself, he was nominated and got the principal, one of the few awards for the Washington Post, and so I just want a round of applause for him. He's an incredible person. Holds our school together. Along with Ms. Byrd, I'd like to say thank you so much to my fellow graduates, parents, counselors, administrators, maintenance people, custodians, chefs, and of course the teachers. Graduates, it's been an amazing year. Last year's seniors had told us that senior year was a blast and super easy. Last year's seniors are liars. I remember being in my room before midterms and spending 30 minutes creating a to-do list, only before falling asleep without doing any of it. Now, it's times like this, I needed a new perspective. On one of these days, I started daydreaming about travel, like I often do. And I thought, when it's cloudy and rainy outside, life seems dull. But if you get on a plane and fly above the clouds, you see the sun shining and realize that somewhere, it's always sunny. Since then, I have tried to keep this view and see with a positive perspective, even when it's difficult. Our class has had so much experience with this. It's incredible how each one of you was able to brighten up my day with a joke in class or a smile in the hallway. Collectively as well, positive thinking was something we excelled at. During football games especially, we showed our class's positive spirit. Despite all the hard work our players put in, it's hard to beat the years of experience of some Southern Virginia teams. And we would go to some games and may lose pretty badly. But I remember how despite that, we would have an amazing time hanging out and cheering on our friends. After the game, the players might have seemed disappointed, but they would keep a smile on their face and be ready for the next game. That's the power of perspective. Even in middle school, we always kept our heads up. I remember once our whole class was so tired of walking up 3 flights of stairs multiple times a day at MEH, so we made the reasonable request to the administration to install escalators. Now, apparently, there wasn't room in the budget for this. So instead of continuing to trudge up the stairs, we stayed positive, and we persevered. We organized a sit-in. I'm not sure the administration got the message when we used our recess to sit in front of the lockers, but the teachers, they saw we were serious. And I fully expect the plans for the new high school to feature escalators. Honestly, because of our class's mindset and positivity, we've had a remarkable 4 years. And I'm so excited for all of you over the next 4 years. You'll have an incredible experience at college or gap years or at work. However, there will be moments when you spend hours studying. You may not get any sleep, or you may have a tough day on the job. That's when I want you to sit down and think. This is the youngest you'll ever be. Don't spend your time overcome with anxiousness, anxiety, or annoyance. Cherish the little moments. Even now, graduates, I want you to spend a moment and reflect. Look at where you are. Look at the nervous faces of your classmates and the proud looks from parents and teachers. After this day, we are finally finished with our first 12 years of school. You are all on to incredible things, but some days will be hard, so I urge you, for those dark days, take that plane and realize that the sun is always shining above the clouds. I'm excited to see to where you soar. Thank you all once again. Congratulations, class of 2015. Much love, George Mason. Wait, 1 second. There's one part. Ladies and gentlemen, we would ask that you please remain seated as our graduates begin their recession. They will be preceded by our faculty. We thank everyone for coming. Fellow graduates, please rise.